I spent my life following my parents through ancient tombs and exploring the pyramids of Egypt. They're archaeologists, and I felt very lucky to have been adopted by these cool people. My adoptive mom couldn't have children, and one day she decided that adopting a baby was just as good as having her own. She went to an orphanage, and I was the first baby she laid eyes on. Apparently, I was really cute, so she picked me. Before I go on, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel if you want to be cute and irresistible too. I promise, it really works. I went to an international school as my parents wanted me to be educated in English, not Arabic. I had cool classmates from all over the world. My favorite subject was art. I just loved expressing myself through colors. I planned to go to art school eventually. I couldn't wait to get rid of boring math and horrible English essays. While I was a relatively happy teenager, I always felt like something was missing in my life. There was an emptiness I just couldn't explain. I didn't care too much about meeting my real parents, so it wasn't that. I just didn't know what it was. Anyway, one afternoon in history class, I kicked my legs up onto my desk and put on my headphones to listen to my favorite rapper. The teacher didn't care. This was everybody's chill-out class and nobody paid attention anyway. I was just getting to my favorite part of the song when my friend Kayla tapped me on the shoulder. "Carmen, you're wanted for defacing public property. But when did you go to New York? You never told us about that," she said. "Girl, are you drunk? What are you talking about?" I replied. "Here, watch this news clip," she said as she handed me her iPad. It went, "Graffiti artist Lauren strikes again." Depicted here is a drawing of a massive spider on the exterior walls of this luxury apartment building. Then they showed a picture of a girl who looked exactly like me. "Kayla, this isn't me," I said. "Sure, of course you wouldn't tell me about your secret double life," she laughed. That night I went home and I searched for Lauren online. I found several pictures, and all were from news websites stating that they had no idea where she was. They posted pictures of the building she had defaced. And well, I thought the art was brilliant. Then I stumbled across an Instagram page, which seemed to have been created by fans who were trying to figure out where she might be at a particular time. Every time someone identified her artwork on a building, they'd take a picture and send it to the page. I continued browsing through her art and found it all so fascinating. I have to find a way to meet her, I thought. The next morning, I caught my parents when they were in a good mood. "Mom? Dad, there's this cool art exhibition happening in New York next week, and I've been invited to participate," I squealed while faking excitement. "Really? You've never traveled alone, and we're in the middle of a major project. I'm not sure if you can go," my dad said. "Well, it would teach her some responsibility," my mother answered. I begged and pleaded for what seemed like hours. I even printed a fake invitation and showed them the art pieces I planned to display. I tried to make them feel guilty, saying that this could be my chance at becoming a well-known artist, or at least the beginning of my career. They eventually got tired of my whining and agreed to let me go. Of course, I felt bad for lying, but that feeling didn't last very long. I was going to New York. They agreed to pay for my ticket and to book my hotel room. I was so excited I could barely breathe. The big day finally arrived. My bags were packed and I was ready to fly away to meet my mysterious lookalike. The flight was comfortable and I sat next to a cute guy who shared his snacks with me. When we arrived, I was in awe. The scenery was so different from what I was used to in Egypt. The buildings towered above me and I felt so small. I gazed at everything and daydreamed for a while. Then I signaled to a cab and gave the driver directions to my hotel. This was all so simple and I felt so grown up. My room was awesome. I got settled, took a little nap, and then decided to get started on my mission. I went to the Instagram page and noticed that the latest pictures were all taken around one particular block, which wasn't too far away. I decided it might be a good idea to just stand around there for a while and hope to bump into her. I took a screenshot of the address and went to catch another cab. When I arrived, and walked around for a few minutes until I found one of Lauren's pieces. It was some abstract depiction of different shapes, and I couldn't really understand it, but it was interesting. I took out my phone to take a picture, and suddenly someone shouted, "It's Lauren! Everybody, it's her! It's the wanted graffiti artist!" Oh crap, I thought. I realized right then and there that I had made a huge mistake. Of course, I'd be mistaken for Lauren. I should have worn some type of disguise. I I felt so stupid. Luckily, the person who shouted just wanted to take a picture, so I allowed him to. Then I realized I needed to run away very quickly, except I had no idea where I was going. In less than a minute, I heard sirens everywhere. I was cornered and I had nowhere to run. I was arrested and taken to a juvenile detention center. I tried to explain that I wasn't who they thought I was. I even showed them my ID cards and my passport. I tried to tell them to call my parents, but they wouldn't listen to me. I had never been in trouble in my life, and I was terrified. I had only heard about juvenile detention centers on television. Nothing I had watched in the past could have prepared me for this. At the center, all my belongings were taken from me. I was given some new clothes, a toothbrush, shampoo, and a blanket. They told me I was allowed one phone call, but I didn't know my parents' number by heart. I wanted to cry. I felt like I had just ruined my life. I was taken to my room, which was shared by two horrible-looking girls who snarled at me. I put down my things, and as I was about to sit down, one of them said, "You know you have to do everything we tell you, right? This is how it works around here. You're not so tough without your spray cans and your paint now, are you?" "How do you even know who I am?" I asked. "You're all over the news. We saw you while we were watching television earlier. We're allowed to watch for 1 hour a day," she replied. "Anyway, give me that shampoo," the other girl said while grabbing all my stuff. It was no use trying to assert myself. They were both bigger and much stronger than I was. I spent several days in there. The food was disgusting, and the wardens treated us like animals. The worst part was that I was starting to smell really awful. We were only allowed 1 2-minute shower per day. I couldn't even wash my hair because that horrible girl had taken my shampoo. On the bright side, they allowed us to go outside for 2 hours every day, and this was the only thing that would keep me going. I had a special spot under a tree next to a fence. I'd often sit there and daydream about what my life would have been like if I hadn't made such a bad decision to come here. I'd probably be in class with my feet kicked up on a desk without a care in the world. One day, as I sat, filled with depressing thoughts, I heard, "Psst." I looked around and saw nothing. "Over here. Keep following my voice," the voice said. I followed the voice along the fence, and suddenly a character popped up from the bushes. It was Lauren. "Oh my gosh, it's you. It's like looking into a mirror. I can't believe it. How did you know I was in here?" I nearly screamed. "Shh, not so loud. You're all over the news. Well, I'm all over the news. This is super complicated. You look just like me." "I can't believe it," she replied. "I only came here to find you, and now my life is ruined in this place. I hate it here," I said. "Don't worry. I'll get you out. You'll be free," she said confidently. She explained the escape plan to me. At midnight, I would pretend to have an asthma attack. I would ask to be taken outside for some fresh air. When outside, I'd run to this exact spot where she would have carved a hole into the fence. She'd be waiting right there for me, and we'd run to her hiding spot. "Are you sure this is going to work?" I asked nervously. "Trust me." She winked and ran off. That night, I carried out the plan exactly how she had explained it to me, and it worked. As we ran away from the center together, I felt the greatest sense of accomplishment I had ever felt in my life. She had been hiding in a little apartment which wasn't too far away. When we got there, I sighed with relief. We were safe, and I was no longer locked up. After I showered and changed into ordinary clothes, we spent quite a while looking at each other in disbelief. We spoke about our childhoods, which had a similar starting point. She had also been abandoned as a child, but unlike me, she was sent to live in a miserable group home where she was treated awfully. Some days she didn't even have enough food to eat. She was never given a birthday present in her life, and a Christmas celebration was something she had never experienced. Hearing her stories made me appreciate my life a lot more. She grew up feeling unwanted and neglected for most of her life, while I was loved and showered with affection. The only thing that made her happy was art. "Do you think we're twins?" I asked. "Well, look at us," she replied. I found my parents' number online and called them to let them know the truth and all I had discovered. After getting over the initial shock, they asked me to come home that instant and to bring her with me if I wanted. I asked her if she wanted to come with me, and she agreed. After all, she needed an escape where they'd eventually catch her and send her to that awful detention center. We figured out how to leave the country without anyone noticing. We carefully disguised ourselves and fled to Canada. Some days we walked, and other days we hitchhiked. When we finally got across the border, Lauren had to change her name and get a passport. That took a few days, but after we did it all, we were on our way to Egypt. When we arrived at the airport, my parents dropped everything they were holding. "Which one is you, Carmen?" said my mom. "Whoa, they're identical," shouted my dad. We went home, and they had set up a room just for Lauren. Later on, they decided we should take DNA tests to confirm whether or not we were really twins. As you guessed, we were. I finally felt like I had found the missing piece of the puzzle, the part of me I knew existed somehow. Lauren and I became best friends, and we were so alike it was crazy. We spent a lot of time sharing our artistic creations. My parents enrolled her at the same school as me, and all of my classmates became obsessed with our stories. We decided to start a YouTube channel to discuss our lives as newly reconnected twins. I was so happy I had met my sister and that we were reunited.